Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me in this live stream. This is something new. We're streaming on multiple channels at the same time, so bear with me. It's new technology, and I'm trying to figure it out. But today, in our tip of the week, we're going to talk about asylum. What is asylum? What are the requirements for asylum? What documents do I need? And how do I apply for it in the United States? And we're going to talk about in two different scenarios. What's called an affirmative asylum, which means you're not in removal proceedings and you're here for a certain period of time before you file for asylum, or a defensive asylum application, which means you are in removal proceedings. The U.S. government is trying to deport you, and you're saying, hold on, you're afraid to go back. That's our subject for today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Andres Mejer. I'm an immigration attorney and an immigrant myself. I love helping immigrants because I know firsthand how hard it is to be without legal status. I lived in that situation along with my family for almost 10 years. We got taken advantage of. We got scammed. We had a bad experience trying to get our green card. And now that I have a chance to help others that are in the situation I was in, that motivates me and encourages me to keep doing what I do. Okay, so after that brief introduction, let's move right ahead with our topic for today. So, defensive application or asylum. What is it? Asylum, there are three fundamental things you need to prove. One, you're afraid of persecution if you go back to your country. You're afraid either because bad things happened to you previously, or you have a really good reason to suspect bad things will happen to you now. Second, you're afraid of whom? The government or a group the government can't control. And three, these individuals or groups or the government is going to do bad things to you. Why? And it needs to be for a protected reason. One of five: race, religion, national identity, political opinion, particular social group. It has to be one of those five reasons. If I walk outside my home and I get attacked or mugged, that does not by itself entitle me to protection, to asylum. I can't just say, hey, listen, I'm afraid to go outside my house. That isn't reasonable. However, police show up at my door, put a gun to my head and say, hey, if you don't pay your rent or your tax to me or my organization, I will kill you. And remember your next door neighbor? Yeah, I killed him already. Well, that's a whole other story. Now that's the government, police, for maybe a protected reason because I'm a business owner or a land owner and I have to pay this group in addition to what I have to pay the government. That is a basis potentially for asylum. Now, there are two different types of asylum processes. This could very well change. What I mean by that is President Biden has indicated that he's interested in simplifying this process. So there might be only one process. But for today, if you're filing for asylum, it's if you're not in removal proceedings, that is called an affirmative asylum application. If you are in removal proceedings, meaning the government is trying to deport you, that would be a defensive application. Now, what's the difference? Well, let me show you. Now, let's see if I do this right. Like I said, this is new technology, so I'm not 100% sure how I'm doing this, but I'm going to share my screen. Share. Okay. Hopefully, you're seeing the right thing. So this is our roadmap that we give out to clients and we use it for training. So to file for asylum, you have to file Form I-589. Now, if you hire our firm, the first thing we do is a background check. We want every single document the government has for you. So that could be FBI, that could be motor vehicle, and it's immigration. There's 7 different agencies. If you entered the U.S. legally, you filed for a visa application. I want to see that. Why? Anything that you submitted to the government, you're going to need to compare it, or the government's going to compare it to whatever you're now applying. And if there's any difference, that might be a basis to find that you're lying, that you're not credible, that you're not believable. So I want to see everything the government has on you before I file anything new for you to make sure it is consistent. We don't always have the luxury of time to do that, so we do the best that we can with the circumstance that we have. So first we do a background check. Then we gather your documents. Well, what documents? I'm glad you asked. A identity document, so who you are, birth certificate, passport. If you're married, then I want a marriage certificate. If you have children, I want birth certificates for your children. Then what documents? So we're going to need passport photos for you. We're going to need a filing fee if appropriate, but historically asylum does not have a filing fee. That's another one of those things Trump tried to change. So passport photos, identity documents, and then we're going to need an affidavit. What does the affidavit explain? Well, in shorthand, who you are, why you're afraid to go back to the country, of whom you're afraid, and for a protected reason. So the 3 fundamental questions we talked about before. And then any documentary evidence that would support your claim. So if you were attacked and you were beaten brutally, you went to the hospital, medical records. If you reported to the police, police reports. If you have any witnesses that saw some of the harm. So you're going to think about every single incident, every bad thing that happened to you from this group or government that might do bad things to you in the future. Maybe death threats, maybe notices, maybe voicemails, maybe text messages, maybe WhatsApp messages. Whatever you have to corroborate what you say. So we're going to take a look at each discrete incident. Well, on this date, this happened. On this date, that happened. On the third date, this happened. And we're going to look at, is there any document, is there any video, is there any person that can corroborate what you say happened on that date in question? And we're going to want a copy of that, because to file an asylum claim and to succeed in an asylum claim, you don't need any evidence whatsoever. Your testimony alone can be enough. However, that requires a lot. You have to do phenomenally well at your interview. The officer or the judge may not give you the benefit of the doubt for anything. The more you can corroborate, the more likely the officer or the judge is going to believe you. You're not going to be able to corroborate absolutely everything you say happened to you. But the more you can show, the more likely they're to believe you when they can't. So, background check, gather your documents. Step 3, we're going to assemble all that information, put it in an index, put it in a table of contents, organize it, mail it to immigration. USCIS then is going to receive it. Step 5, they're going to send you a receipt. That's a number that you can then use at USCIS case status to track the status of your case. After they've received it, it also has a date of when they received it, which is important. And 6, you are going to get a notice to get fingerprinted. They're going to want to see your fingerprints. They're going to look up background searches. That's why we like to do that beforehand. 7 is apply for employment authorization. Now, today, again, when you look at the receipt, step 5, you're going to look at a year from the date the government said they received it. That is when you can apply for employment authorization as it is today. You are then going to receive that work permit. Step 9 is going to be a hearing in front of an asylum officer. Now, it's possible you're going to have an asylum officer before you get employment authorization. There's no way to know. Everything's in flux. You're going to prepare for the hearing. How? You're going to review the application. You're going to review your documents. You're going to make sure everything is consistent. If not, you're going to supplement those documents. You're then going to go to a hearing where an asylum officer is going to ask you a series of questions. And the officer will give you a decision then and there, or, as it's been happening lately, will not give you a decision that day, will either mail you the decision or invite you to come back on another occasion to get that decision. That is an affirmative asylum claim. Now, let's talk about a defensive claim. What is the function? I don't know what's going on here. All right, there we are. What is the function of a defensive asylum claim? Let's share this new, stop showing me that. What do I want to see? That. All right. Hopefully you're seeing this. So again, defensive asylum, what it means is you are presently in removal proceedings. The government is trying to deport you. So step one, we're going to gather you. You're going to gather your documents. Step two, you are going to, you know what? Step two is, again, it depends on timing. Maybe you hire your attorney right before your court appearance. You don't have time to file for anything. However, step two should be, so step one, well, you know what? This is incorrect. That is a new form. So let's instead look at the affirmative claim, because it's really not all that different. If in an ideal scenario, you're going to have a background check, you're going to gather your documents, you're going to prepare and file, U.S. is going to receive it, you're going to get a receipt, you're going to get scheduled for biometrics, you're going to apply for employment authorization, you're going to receive employment authorization. Now, between steps 1 to 8, at some point, you're going to have a court appearance in front of a judge. You might get all the way to step 8 without having a court appearance. You might not. So generally at the first court appearance, the judge will ask you what you're receiving. If it works out in an ideal scenario, you've already filed for it, you have all the proofs, you have your work authorization, you go in front of the judge, you ask the judge for a trial date, and then you prepare for that trial date by reviewing your application, reviewing the documents you provided, going over your testimony. You go to that hearing, it's in front of an immigration judge. Instead of an asylum officer, it's actually a judge. The government has their attorney. So your attorney is going to ask you a series of questions. Then the government's attorney is going to ask you questions, and the judge is going to make a decision. That is a defensive asylum claim. Now, there's always the possibility. Let's stop sharing here. All right, why is this not working? Different screen. So there's always the possibility you're going to file an affirmative claim. You're going to file it. You're going to go to an asylum officer. That asylum officer, if he approves you, fantastic. A year later, you're going to be granted refugee status. If the asylum officer denies you, you then will be put into removal proceedings, and then you'll be in front of an immigration judge. Now, yes, you already filed your application, but maybe a couple of years have passed. You may have to supplement. You may have to renew it. You then go in front of the judge. You're going to have your trial. If you succeed, you're going to be granted refugee status, and a year later, you can apply for your green card. If you are denied, well, then you either accept that decision or you appeal that decision. Now, the asylum application, let me show that to you as well. Or let me try to. Again, I really hope that you're actually seeing what I'm asking. Since I can't really see what it is that I'm doing, I am hoping that you can. So the asylum application is really divided in two discrete portions. Part A is really information about you and your family. So your name, your address, your date of birth, when you came to the United States, where you've been to the United States, your passport information about your spouse and children. Are you married? Are you not married? How many kids do you have? Were you ever previously married? So now we're on page 3. Page 4, now we're talking about your background, where you've lived the past 5 years, what education have you had. Then the bottom, it's asking about your family, your mother, your father, any siblings. Are they alive? Where do they live? Part B is really the important part. I'm not saying the part A isn't important. Look, anything you file with immigration has to be 100% accurate, has to be perfect. Because as far as immigration is concerned, there is no mistakes, because you are certifying that everything is accurate. Now, let's take a look at what is Part B. Part B is how you prove your case. Remember, I said you're afraid of persecution because something bad happened to you, or you have a good reason to believe something bad will happen to you. Secondly, who are you afraid of? The government or the group the government can't control. And 3, why is it a protected reason? So the first question is really literally asking you, are you filing based on a protected reason? If yes, why? And they go into detail. So Part B is all about those 3 fundamental questions. But they also want to make sure that there isn't anything in your past that could disqualify you. So yes, it is a 12-page document. I'm not disagreeing with that. However, it's really, again, 2 parts. Who are you? Who are your family? What's your background? Where you lived? What's your education? And then, how is it you believe you're entitled to file for asylum? So now, what did we just cover today? Well, we went over what asylum is, what documents we need to submit with us, what are the steps for asylum case, and what are the documents that we need in order to prove our case. Now, how long does this take? It really depends. Pre-COVID, and I would say even pre-Trump, an affirmative asylum application was taking 3 to 4 years. But now it depends. Are you in removal, or are you filing an affirmative or a defensive claim? And it also depends where you're filing, because how backdated is the asylum office? There's going to be an interview in your local office. Or if you're in removal, where are you? Are you in Texas? Are you in New York? Are you in South Carolina? Each one would have a different time, backlog. And it also matters who's your judge, because some judges are busier than others. A newer judge has more availability. An older judge who's been around for several years may take 3 to 4 years until you get your trial date. So it's really difficult to predict, and we are in a period of flux. So that's all for tonight. You know what? Let's see if we have any questions. All right. Ren Martin asks how to apply for travel visa office. He's in Hong Kong right now. Well, look, Ren, you need to go to the closest embassy or consulate that's open. I know that's not easy to do. So you would have to look at every embassy or consulate has a website. Take a look. Are they accepting tourist applications? So it depends on what your reason is. You say, hey, how to apply for travel visa? Well, there's a lot of different reasons for a travel visa. Are you coming for business? Or are you coming for pleasure? And if you're just as a tourist or business, well, what kind of business? Because there's a variety of different visas. Are you just coming for a conference? Are you coming because you're in the World Cup, or you're in for martial arts, or you're for some sporting event? So what is the basis of your reason? But either way, you're going to have to apply at the closest embassy or consulate. Now, you can do that with an attorney, or you can do that without an attorney. If that's as much information as I can really share with you without a whole lot more info. So thank you for your question. Thank you for your time. If you want specific information, give us a call. That is all for tonight. I hope this was helpful, because one of the reasons I became an attorney was to help people. If there is something you would like me to talk about, please leave a comment below so we can take it into consideration for our next videos. And if you like this video, please give us a like and share it with somebody that you think would be helpful. If you need help with your immigration case, give us a call. We can't work with everyone who contacts us, but if we can't help you, we won't take your money. Thanks for watching. As always, stay healthy and be well.